Dallas. Possibly the best opportunity of the match to score a try.
Accurate set piece is what is needed. Boyson, Tomas Baravache has it at the back line coming as well. A big maul for the Dallas Jackals, getting close to the try line, and they're over. Tomas Baravache scores for the home side. The crowd on their feet at Choctaw Stadium, much better from Dallas.
From a penalty, perfect execution. You see the centers running in to add their weight, and a winger. Just gives that little bit more power to the drive. And they were not to be stopped. Baravache with an easy dive, a mere formality for him at the back. He controlled it well. And a great... Christensen will be telling people he meant this. The old fake botched kick and then catch it himself. Catches Nola unawares and off he goes.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Jakl Den podcast. I am your host and President Daryl Keith Hendon, a.k.a. the Fairweather Rugby Fan. Well, another one of these videos. It was a game that was quite in hand, but not really, as we fall to the NOLA Gold 15-10. But obviously, I always start out these videos with any types of announcements, and we do have a few. Obviously, Jakl Den merch still on sale. You can get it online, easy shipping, quick shipping, and the scarves. Rick Collins is still the man. We still got those. $15. We could ship anywhere in the lower 48 fairly easily. This coming Saturday, the last home game for the last game of the 2023 campaign for your Dallas Jackals as they welcome the newest team in Major League Rugby, the Chicago Hounds. Obviously, I will have the pregame video for that up on Friday or early Saturday morning. Come on out. It is 80s night for the Choctaw for the Dallas Jackals. Now, separately, aside from that, the Jakl Den will be hosting Pride Night, our very own Pride Night. Lost Souls RFC out of Dallas will be in attendance. Keep your eyes peeled for your humble president, as I will be wearing something over the top, even more over the top than my my biker punk rock jacket that you always see me in out at the games. I know a lot of people have kind of asked about that. Hey, it's kind of my thing. I kind of grew up wearing stuff like that. As a matter of fact, you might be lucky one day and see my original one that no longer really fits me because I got fat and old. Tends to happen these days. But come on out. Tailgate action, 3:30 p.m. We'll be looking to be in Lot E. There is a Dallas or a Texas Rangers home game that weekend, this weekend, and it looks like Lot E and Lot M. If that is updated, we will keep you up to date on the Jakl Den Facebook, Jakl Den Instagram, Jakl Den Twitter, Jakl Den YouTube page. We will keep you guys up to date on that. So that is it for the announcements. Let's go ahead and break down what happened this weekend against the NOLA Gold. First things first, I want to go ahead and say a big thank you to the Choctaw Stadium staff there. It was a scorcher. I believe it was like 34, 35 degrees Celsius. Don't get me started. I think that might be the mid-90s Fahrenheit as we headed out to the stadium there. They allowed us very, very nicely to sit in the opposite end zones of the stadium in the shade. There was a little bit of a flub in the national anthem, the microphone not working for the service member that was supposed to be singing on the field, which I did feel was in a bit of ill taste. But the cool thing about it was everybody started singing, and we all sang. And there was an older lady in our section who looked to have traveled with the NOLA Gold. Man, they brought fans. They came in droves. Good on the NOLA Gold, who had an absolutely amazing operatic voice. She sounded beautiful. Once again, never should have happened with service members out on the field like that. But to see Americans kind of rally around and sing the national anthem, it's a beautiful thing. It's really good that people can do that here. But we'll go ahead and get into the action. First 16 minutes of the game, I mean, we were playing sloppy. They were playing sloppy, and eventually it leads to a penalty deep in the NOLA end. And Ali Torres elects to kick from a considerable distance, but he does nail it. He does end up missing one later in the game, which was a bit of a downside for Ali. Less than 10 minutes after that, Aaron Matthews, they're on an advantage. They're deep in the Jackals' end. They get an advantage, and he does cross. Moroni and El Bigote, Conrad Aurora, try to stop him, but he just had a little bit too much momentum going. Dougie Fife, the big guy on the afternoon for Nola Gold, he was kind of in the mix the whole game, and he was giving us hell the entire time. Damian Stevens, it says he's 5'9". That dude's like 5'4", 5'3" max. That guy might be the shortest professional rugby player I've ever seen in my life, and I've been around a lot of them. That guy's like 5'4", 5'5", because I'm 5'7", and I was considerably taller than him, at least in my mind. But he does miss. It is 8-2-3. It becomes 5-3 at that point. Couple of minutes later, a penalty deep in the Jackals' end on the Jackals, and Stevens does elect to kick, and he does make it. He's now 1 of 2 on the day, and it goes to 8-3 at that point. We're getting towards halftime. You could kind of tell everybody was gassed. It was a very hot day. It began to rain for a little bit on our end of the stadium. It eventually made it to the other end of the stadium, but as you know, in this part of the country, when it rains and it's that hot, it really just feels even worse afterwards, honestly. And just a complete lack of defensive presence. And Kahoy goes over. We were just asleep at the wheel. He crosses right before half, and we go into half down. Yeah, 15-3. Stevens does convert. We come back in the second half. You can kind of start to see a little bit of the fatigue setting in on some of the guys. Ali Torres amongst them. It's a hot day. It's a hot afternoon, and it's a grind, man. It's a grind, especially when nothing's really seeming to happen, no matter what you do. But we do get a line out deep in Nola Gold territory. A perfect line out by Baravale. He takes his place in the back of the mall, and it ends up taking. They got to get a wing in. I believe it was Satama, or was it Johnstone? And then even Hot Wheels Danny Christensen had to get in to help push that maul over, and Baravale does cross at the 48th minute. Torres does nail the conversion, and it becomes a 15-10 game with 22 minutes left. This is more than enough time for us to try to get the go-ahead and get, or at least an equalizer out of it, and it just never happens. Penalties on Dallas were the story of the day. We were winning scrums, which was great. Our lineouts could have been a bit better, but we were shooting ourselves in the foot with the penalties left and right, even with Gomez Vara, I believe, going off at one point. 75th minute in, I think everybody concentrated on the NOLA player flipping Danny Christensen on his head, which is a no-no. But there was an off-the-ball tackle that I tried going back to see if I could see it. I saw it live in person. You couldn't see it on the camera angle, but there was an obvious, and it should have been – I would have given a red card because it was an obvious off-the-ball high tackle. But they didn't see it, and I couldn't find any of the footage of it, so I'm not going to say any names, but there was obviously a penalty miss there at the 75th minute. We try to get it going. We get a nice little deep run. I mean, Danny Christensen was just giving it everything he had on his first start of the year, and we just ran out of gas, man. It's just the nature of the beast, and we got down 15-10, and that's the final score. So the real story of the game to me was penalties. We really shot ourselves in the foot way too many times. This team NOLA was not that good. We were doing everything we could to try to get things going. I do tip my hat to Alejandro Torres. He was 60th minute. He was cramping, dude. He was gassed, man. You can tell a lot of these guys, the heat really did a number on them. And, I tip my hat to Ali. I tip my hat to Danny Christensen. These were guys that stayed in the whole game. And, I mean, they were doing a lot of work. Alex Tucci comes into the game. He ends up going back out later in the game. Looked like he was nursing a little bit of an injury. I saw him after the post game. I don't even think I could even notice. Maybe he just pulled something or he was fine. But yeah, once again, a 15-10 loss to NOLA, and we go into the final round of this season with 2 wins. The exact opposite story for the Chicago Hounds as they come away victorious over Utah. crushing Utah's playoff chances, going away 26-24. They will be here next weekend, Sam Harris and company, and a team that on paper should have done a lot better than they did, and it's just kind of the same thing, just the way the cookie crumbles. Now, we've got one last chance to be. There's only going to be one team with 2 wins and one team with 3 wins in the Western Division, and I would like it to be the Jackals. I'd like for us to go out in style and class at the end of the season, because if you really look at it, there were a lot of games that we should have won that were very close. Obviously, in the earlier part of the season, we took a road trip where we lost by a couple of points in a couple of games. Now, the playoffs have been decided for both conferences or both divisions, so we already know what's going to be in store the following weekend as the playoffs get underway. San Diego is looking really strong. So is New England. Seattle took a little bit of a tumble, but I also looked at their lineup. They didn't really put their strongest lineup out there either, and it's going to be an interesting congrats to DC Glory for making their first playoff appearance. Houston is in. You never know what's going to happen with those guys. I'm still putting my money on Seattle. I think Seattle wins the whole shebang bang. That's just me. And it's not just because, Adrian Carlsa is a brother of mine, and I just think that they have a really well-rounded team, but you never know with San Diego. They might be able to just win the whole shebang bang. I think it's going to be a Western Division team regardless, but we will talk about that later on. Now for my 3 stars of the game. And I'm going to actually give an honorary star to somebody that was not on the lineup sheet. If you were there in attendance, we all saw Maroney bowl over that little kid on the sidelines in the second half. I want to give that kid a star. You took a hit from a grown man and got up and walked away. I mean, Maroney bowled this kid over. And at the end of the game, he obviously made sure he was okay at the time. And then at the end of the game, he actually chased the kid down to say, hey, are you cool or whatever. I tip my hat, man. He was probably an 8 or 9, maybe 10, 12-year-old kid. I mean, he got bowled over by a grown man and got up and walked away. So I tip my hat to you, young man, whoever you are. If I see you at the next game, I will definitely sing some praises towards you, kid, because you took a hit that I don't think a lot of us would have walked away from very easily. My 3 stars for the Dallas Jackals, we will start from 3 and go up to 1. My number 3 star is Alejandro Torres. Obviously, with the 5 points off of his boot alone, but also just the fact that he was doing whatever he could to keep us in this game. It could have been a much wider margin. Ale was doing. If he had a playbook, he was going through every page. He was just trying to get something going, trying to make things work, and it just never really worked out for him. So I give him my 3rd star for the 5 points. And obviously just, going out there, I know we got used to having, Elias, and I think Alejandro has come in and been just fine in his absence. My number 2 star goes to our try scorer, the welcome back return of Thomas Barravale, the Benetton veteran of 60-plus caps over there in Italy. Just a great dude to talk to. Love talking to him on social media. Great dude. He got the lone try we had in the second half, doing his thing at the back of the mall. Him and Dewey have just been money, and so is Connor Robinson all season at the back of those malls. They've just been carrying the weight, and a lot of that scrum dominance. He was a part of a lot of that in the game. So I give my number 2 star. My number 1 star, I don't think this is going to be all that hard to figure out. The Mormon machine himself, Hot Wheels, Danny Christensen, first start of the year, absolutely 80 minutes put in, never gave up, never surrendered. The 75th minute, he's still... we got to see a lot of Danny this weekend, and I think a lot of us, it was a fresh breath of air. If only other things could have worked out on the team. I did notice early on they were not going to Louis Satama's side at all. I'm not talking about the Jackals. I'm talking about NOLA. They avoided Louis Satama like the plague. But Danny, I mean, he had some good tackles, great out of the back of rucks, man, some great carries, a good chip kick, and then he catches his own pass because it was a pretty high kick, or catches his own kick because it was pretty high. Danny went out there and put on a clinic at scrum half. And I mean, being matched up against a Namibian international like Damian Stevens, Damian who? Not Damian who, but you know what I mean. Like, he really went out there and held his own for being a 33-year-old American rugby player. He went out there. I spoke with him a bit on social media earlier today, and I was talking about how, like, hey, dude, you were going up, you were tackling or trying to tackle guys that were much larger than you. And he said that's one of his favorite things about it. And we brought up Faf de Klerk, the great scrum half for the Springboks. Very good dude. Talked to him multiple times before. And he says he looks up to Faf de Klerk, and that's what Faf de Klerk is known for. He is called a giant slayer for a reason. Danny Christensen, very much embodying that giant slayer mentality when he was out on the pitch this weekend. He was all over. He didn't care if you were a lock, a hooker, a prop, a wing. If he could catch you, he was going to put hands on you, and he was going to try and bring you down with everything he had. And that's what you love to see with rugby players, guys that are going out there and giving it not just 100%, but even more, putting 110%, putting it all out on the line, throwing everything they have. He never gave up. He never quit. And that's why he makes #1 star from the president of the Jakl Den. And by voting that I'm seeing on the Facebook, a lot of you at home are also, and not just people with the last name Christensen. I'm seeing a lot of people singing the praises of Danny Christensen. And I agree. He is an absolute gem. I do enjoy having a guy like Imhoff and guys like Natsa. But if it comes to keeping a veteran, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to go with Danny just because he's an American, so he doesn't go against our international slots. And two, he's just so entertaining to watch because he's like, literally, I said it in the pregame, he is the guy, he's the kid that parents say, don't give him a soda, he'll go crazy. That's Danny in a nutshell. And then at the end of it all, he's like the guy that's like signing autographs, saying thank you to everyone. Like, he's such a nice, good kid from a good family. I've met some of the Christensens, super nice people. He's just a good guy all around, and I hope we get to keep him for many years to come because he's just a joy to see on the pitch. He just brings a positive, good vibe energy. Danny's like the dude that I would put on some jandals or flip-flops, as you say here, and like get an acoustic guitar and just hang out with because he's just like that dude that would just bring positive vibes no matter where he goes, and that's a good thing. Well, that is it for this video. We will see you again later this week as we get the final 23-man squad for the final game of the season. Be on the lookout. There is going to be two pregame videos this week. I am currently working with a couple of people, and you will get a video in Espanol this week. I am going to see how bad my Spanish is. I'm working on it. I'm going over it, trying to get it perfected and whatnot, just so I'm at least intelligible. But I decided to do this based on the amount of Argentinian fans that we do have now, and I thought this would be a special treat for those fans. You will get a pregame video in Espanol from your Presidente, El Presidente. But until then, just a reminder that this is the Jakl Den podcast made by a massive fan. I mean, I wish you could see all the jerseys that are out of photo. For you guys, the fans at home, the fans at games, the fans all around the world that subscribe to this and watch this, we really appreciate all your support. You're the reason we're going to keep doing this. And be on the lookout in the offseason. Some big changes coming, not just with your president and his personal channel, but this channel as well. We're going to be doing some big things. We're going to be trying to change some things and make this the preeminent podcast for Major League Rugby, the indie broadcast for Major League Rugby. But until then, cheers, guys.